So welcome to today's podcast. I'm Kathleen Starhall with Hillshire Media, where we have the pleasure of speaking with Jin Lan Cera. Okay, great. Thank you. About your book, Awakening.
Yes.
Very exciting. So the journey to awakening. What can you tell us about the personal challenges you faced in 2020 and how they led you to explore the law of attraction?
First, thank you for having me, Kathleen. In the early 2020, I was newly divorced and unemployed, and I have 2 slipped discs in my spine. Mm-hmm. And, many things were not very happy happening at the same time. And so it's just like a chain of the bad things happened, but then I feel like I have no idea what to, and so I feel like all the doors shut down for me, and I felt like there was no exit.
Right.
So, yeah, and then a chain of events happened to me, like the mode of my life changed from the survival mode to the abundant mode. And so I think the revelations I received from those events can be very valuable to the people who have the same experience like I had before. And I think it applies to everybody. So I think I would write this book because I believe that each one of us can do the same thing.
Yeah, I've been trying to do it myself, and it's a struggle to find the right, I guess I'm trying to find the right words, the right path to go, to be able to follow, because there's so many different ones out there when it comes to the law of attraction. So how did you first come across the concept of the law of attraction, and what were your initial thoughts on it?
The first time I heard about it was from YouTube. Interesting. So I feel like I call YouTube my YouTube university because I learned everything. Also, when I was so limited, I had no access to the other way, right? So the farthest I could get out of my life was my cell phone. So I use YouTube a lot. And so the first time encountered the law of attraction was, I think her name is Abraham Hicks.
Abraham Hicks.
My English is not my first language, so I'm not so fluent, but I will try. So I think her own name is Esther Hicks. Abraham Hicks is like the bigger her, like her higher self. Then Esther is the smaller version of her. So in the beginning, I did not notice her name Esther. I only know Abraham Hicks, right? And because she advertised that way, and from the first lecture I heard, I was very impressed. I felt something very deep, very profound, very grand there, but I had no idea how to grasp it because I had any experience with any religious teaching or any spiritual teaching. Because I grew up in an atheist society, so my mind was very confined in the 3D or 4D dimensions. So I had no idea how to get out. So it was fascinating, but I had no idea what exactly the law was. She repeatedly mentioned the word, the law of attraction says this, the law of attraction says that, and I had no idea what it was. So I did thorough research. I spent many months to do the research on this topic. and eventually I clicked. Yeah.
Okay. So is that how her teachings resonated with you?
Yes. Especially, one thing I get from her very valuable was she said one thing very important. She says, only talk about the things you want. Don't talk about the things you don't want. And this is especially valuable for me, especially for later I met my now husband. By the time I listened to her lecture, I was single, right? No, not dating anybody. But without her advice, even I met a perfect man like my husband now, I could not handle it. Especially, we're very different. He's a liberal, very, very left side of the liberal. And then I'm newly becoming a conservative. So we could have a lot of argument and upset each other if I did not follow her advice, because the mind will keep arguing, right? And then her advice is only talk about the things you want and don't talk about the things you don't want. So it many times it stopped our arguing right in the middle. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So I like hearing that it's like to stop thinking about what you don't want and think of and try to focus on what you do want. Does that also go for don't focus on what you don't have?
What don't have, you don't want what you don't have. You don't want the idea of, I don't have this, I don't have that, right? You don't want to have this idea in your mind to make you believe I don't have this, I don't have that.
Okay,
you want to have a happy mood first. You first need to, the thing she was teaching was like, we all have actually all the power to manifest what we deserve. But the problem is we are not having the right method to manifest, to attract what we want in our life. So,
changing the mindset.
What?
Changing our mindset, getting rid of the words can't and don't.
Right. Yeah, that's, I think that's the most valuable things I get from her. She taught a lot. But because I was kind of feel like I was hungry in this area, right? So then I started a lot of the other area, try to see if there is any other teaching are doing the same or towards the same goal or prove each other. That's scientific, right? Because my mind is constantly trying to find the scientific evidence to prove that's valid.
Okay. So now I understand that your journey on this also went with Rhonda Byrne's book, The Secret. How did that contribute to your understanding of the law of attraction?
I think the best thing she did was two things I get from her, very valuable. Although some of the things that I did not digest, like you just need to envision you have $1 million check in front of you and then ask the universe to give you, then it will show up. I did not digest that. I believe there is a lot more work to do than that. But two things she mentioned are really very valuable to me, especially I did not have, any clear concept in this area, right? So she made the what Esther said in more detail, right? So I appreciate that a lot. They both are brilliant, but Rhonda, she has pointed out in more detail. So she says that the universe communicates with images. So when you envision something in the mind, and then that image will synchronize with the other people or other places that have the same, then they will synchronize with you. Then you will be delivered what you want. So it is more deep than this simple statement. So I wrote more detail in my book to, just break her statement in more detail. So to show how that's possible.
Okay. Yeah. So you broke it down more and gave it more information and structure to what she said. In more detail. You gave more detail to what she was already saying.
Not exactly what she's saying, just break down how that could be possible if you do not go through the minor, the smaller steps. If you don't do the smaller steps, you just jump to the conclusion, I envision $1 million check, it will show up. It's not like that.
Oh, okay.
And so it can, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's fine. So, and later I also realized that after I studied many other areas, I realized that sound also work, not only images.
Okay, so sound plays into it as well.
Right. Sound. Actually, it's three things: sound, image, and also the consciousness. Yeah, the three way. But because most people are not trained in the consciousness way, so the way that everybody can do is sound and image.
Okay. So can you explain the three pivotal truths of the law of attraction as you understand them?
Yes. I might not explain in very detail, but the rough idea I can give you. So the first one is thoughts are vibrations. Yeah, vibrations or you call it a vibrational energy, because they share the same interference patterns like waves, right?
Okay.
And for example, lovers build up each other, and fighters destroy each other, like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then the second one is likes attract likes. So you like tennis, I like tennis, we go play tennis together. And
okay.
Yeah, so it's like that. The people like the same thing, like the folks audiences like folks, and the CNN audiences like CNN. So they don't communicate with each other very well, but the same group of people, they can party together, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of, it's actually very simple when you think more about it. It's very simple. Yeah.
Kind of tears down the old adage of opposites attract. They don't.
They can attract for a while, but if you want to keep a connection long, they don't keep that long if the other one or one of them don't give up and sink. Yeah. So if you put those, if you put those pendulum, right? So if you put one there, and if you put a bunch of there, you start one and you start a bunch of them, then eventually they will vibe at the same frequency.
Oh, okay.
Even though they started differently with a different frequency, different wavelengths or what, but eventually they will change to be the same. Yeah.
Eventually they can sync.
Yes. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah.
As long as one gives to receive. Gives into receiving, so that way they can sync.
Eventually one of them will give in. Usually it's the lower the lower one give in.
Okay.
Or sometimes it's a higher one. He tries the higher. When I say higher, is not the higher frequencies. When I say higher, it means a wider bandwidth. So the wider one means the wiser one has a wider bandwidth. So this person can, adjust himself or herself to communicate with the narrower bandwidth. So then they think first, then the wiser one lead the other one to expand bandwidth. Yeah.
Okay. So can you explain the double slit experiment and its influence on your perspective on the interconnectedness of the universe? Because I would love to know more about the double slit experiment.
The double slit experiment, it did not change my perspective on the interconnectedness of the universe. It helped me to understand why fighting what's wrong is unwise. So you look at the world and see where other people are thriving and where other people are fighting endlessly. And so the thriving people are those who are open-minded, right? So then they would work together to find solutions to do something constructive to the world. And then the fighting people are those close-minded. They cannot see any other way to live. So they just stay in the mindset so they just focus on the fight.
Okay.
So what really influenced my perspective on the interconnectedness of the universe is Qi Gong, actually, because it can change. I mean, it can use a mind power to change things like million miles away. I mean, that is like exaggeration probably, but I do know people can change them. Change things like thousands of miles away. That's true. Yes.
By using Qi Gong?
Yeah, actually, it's just using mind power. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They can do that is because the whole universe is connected,
right,
as one. Right. It's just normal people did not practice that, then you don't know how to use your own mind power. But everybody has this function in it.
Oh, okay. It's just being able to tap into that is based on what what frequency you're vibrating at, right? Would you say that?
Right. It is. Just the people who have a high frequency, usually they have just a much wider frequency. I mean, much wider bandwidth, right? So you're from say near 0 hertz to 100 hertz like that. And ours probably very narrow, small portion of it. Maybe 10% or even could be less than 10% of them. Yeah.
Now, in your book, you've mentioned Miss Sun Chulin's life science research. Can you share more about her abilities and how they impacted your beliefs?
Oh, okay. So Miss Sun Chulin, she is an outstanding life science researcher from one of China's top university in Beijing. She's a Qi Gong master and she has extraordinary mind power. And she could use her mind to change things physically, chemically, and biologically in incredibly short time or thousands of miles away. So there are many videos of her lab experiments and some interviews on the internet, and I cited them in my book.
Okay. So her life science research, it can literally use that to literally change, like helping cure yourself of illnesses?
Yes, you can cure yourself and or cure the other people's illness also. For most of the sickness, you can do that. But what she did was not only heal, is a lot more than just healing. Healing is just a very basic function of her power. Yeah. She has like 60 different way of changing things.